back to Happy Bake Day. I hope you had a great week. You might notice something a little different about me than what we've filmed previously. Today I am rocking some new swag. If you haven't noticed my Happy Bake Day apron, which I was super excited to receive recently. I also have over here my new Happy Bake Day cutting board, which I'm also super excited to see. You'll get some really cool close-up shots of it later in the episode, hopefully when we show off our final product. And today we're going to be making some vanilla meringue cookies, which are some of my absolute favorites. Meringue has been a dessert that I've had a lot as a kid. My dad would surprise us bringing home a box of these cookies on special occasions. So today I thought it would be fun to recreate those memories. For our ingredient list, I have 3 large egg whites. Just a trick with these egg whites, you do want them to come up to room temperature. I've had mine sitting out here on the counter for about an hour or so just to make sure they're completely room temperature. Then I've got 2/3 cup of white sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and then just a pinch of some salt here. I also have, you can see my stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, no problem. You can use a hand mixer as well. I wouldn't use a whisk for this just because it will take some excessive mixing at pretty high speeds to make sure that your meringue gets nice and fluffy and airy, and just doing it with a whisk doesn't typically cut it. I have a rubber spatula, and I also have here 1 tablespoon. This will be for when we add the sugar into the meringue. We will add it 1 tablespoon at a time. So first what we're going to do is preheat our oven to 250 degrees. This is going to be a low and slow bake.
Sit back in your seats, get something to eat, and watch this movie. Don't let the kiddies see it, because, well, we'll let you hear the beginning first. Thank you.
Alright, so with our oven preheating, I think we're ready to start mixing. As I said earlier, if you don't have a stand mixer, not a problem. You're welcome to use a hand mixer. Now, a couple of things to note here. In order to have nice, crispy meringue, you want to make sure that the bowl that you're using and then the whisk that you're using, there are no oils in the bowl or in the whisk. If there are, it will make your meringues a little chewy, a little flat, so you want to make sure there are no oils here. Also, a couple of other things, once we add our egg whites and our vanilla, tartar, and salt, we're gonna mix at a medium speed, and then as we add our sugar, then we're gonna change our mixer to a high speed. In order to get those nice, fluffy, stiff peaks of our meringue, we need to add our sugar 1 tablespoon at a time. Again, this is going to be a really slow bake. So 1 tablespoon at a time here. And then once all of the sugar has been incorporated, then we're going to leave our mixer on high for about 7 minutes in order to get those nice, stiff, glossy peaks.
7 minutes!
And then that will help our meringue set beautifully in order to pipe it onto our baking sheets. Now that our meringue is beautifully made, mine came out to be this really nice pale lavender color. Like I said earlier, I mixed a little bit of the red food coloring and a little bit of my blue food coloring just to get the color that I wanted. Feel free to add as much or as little food coloring as you want to make sure you get the color that you're looking for. My meringue has turned into really nice, beautiful, stiff peaks, and so I think it's going to be a really nice cookie here. I did taste it a little bit when I pulled the whisk off of the mixer, and it's delicious. So I know not everyone has piping bags at home to help pipe your cookies onto your cookie sheets. So one of my DIY hacks is to actually clip the corner of a gallon Ziploc bag, and I can use this easily as my piping bag. What I've also done is I've lined my cookie sheets here with parchment paper, and to make this just a little bit easier on myself and hopefully get my cookies to be a nice uniform shape, I took the time beforehand to trace a 1.5 inch circle on my parchment paper here, and then I flipped it over. So that way when I pipe my meringue onto my cookie sheet, all of my cookies, I have kind of a pattern that I can follow, and my cookies will hopefully be a nice uniform shape. Something to keep in mind as you're filling your meringue into your bag, just scoop the meringue that's in the middle of the bowl. Don't scrape the sides, because what happens is as your stand mixer is mixing, what's happening is most likely the sides of the bowl are not being as incorporated as well as the middle of the bowl. So if you take some of the meringue that's on the sides of the bowl, it's just not going to be as fully formed as the meringue that's in your center of your bowl. So I'm just going to be careful to scoop the meringue that's here in my bowl from the center and not scrape from the sides. I know it seems like a little bit of a waste, but you will have better, stronger, crispier cookies for it. So just to make it a little bit easier to fill my bag, I draped it inside of a measuring cup and then just folded the sides over. You don't have to do that. I just find that filling our makeshift piping bag here a little bit easier, and that way I'm not trying to hold it in one hand, balance, not let any of the meringue fall out. And this way, once it's done, I can just fold up my sides and twist the top to create a nice seal. So as you can see, I scooped the meringue out of the middle of my bowl, and I did not scrape down my sides. Like I said earlier, I know this might seem like a little bit of a waste, but because my sides I know weren't incorporated as well as the middle, unfortunately I'm going to just dump this part. If you would like, you're always welcome to eat it, but I would not use it in your cookies because it will come out a lot chewier and a lot flatter than the fluffy, crispy cookies from the middle batter. Now what I'm going to do, now that I have my meringue here in the middle, I'm going to close up my bag and start piping onto my cookie trays, and then we'll be ready for baking. All right, now for the hardest part. Now that our meringues are piped onto our baking sheets, we've got to put them in the oven. I say this is the hardest part because we have to put them in the oven for 45 minutes and you can't peek at them. You have to leave them in for 45 minutes, and then once those 45 minutes are done and you shut your oven off, we then have to leave them in for at least another 30 to 45 minutes until the oven cools down. If you're like me, I always like to peek and I always want to see how my cookies are doing, but with meringues, they're very delicate, so we want to let them heat up appropriately and then cool down completely before we open up our oven, or else the cookies will become too chewy. All right, the meringues are out of the oven and they look beautiful. So I ended up changing my bake time a little bit because my meringues were pretty high and I made them a little bit bigger. I did leave them in the oven for a full hour at 250, and then when I shut the oven off, I let them sit in the oven for another full hour to cool down completely. And then when I took them out, they had this really nice light and airy feel. They're kind of crunchy on the outside. I mean, who doesn't love a perfectly crunchy meringue? I decided to cut one open just to see what it looked like. And the inside is beautiful and bubbly and airy, and you can see that these meringues were baked perfectly. I'd love to hear how yours turned out. Did you have success like I did? Did you have any struggles with your meringues? Did they come out light and airy like mine, or did you have maybe some chewy or gooey meringues? As always, I hope you had a great time with me today on Happy Bake Day. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell if you'd like to be notified every time we post a new video. We do post new videos every single week, so I look forward to you joining me next time here on Happy Bake Day. And until then, have a great week.